Disclaimer: this YouTube channel does not claim ownership to any reference materials compiled, used and uploaded. The lecture notes and questionnaires researched from various resources and test bank foundations are not in any way or any form influenced by PRC. The intent of the video is to support future licensed professionals who choose to review online, in their journey towards their respective board examinations.
Okay, so for today, we will have the foundations of the teaching-learning process. Let's start with the historical foundations of education. Okay. So historical, when you say historical, the history, education, it is as old as life itself. Okay, because no one can present an accurate account concerning the origin of education. Okay, kasi sabi nila, nung may buhay na, may education na din. Yun ang sabi. But there are two opposing school of thoughts when it comes to the origin of education. One is evolutionist, and the second one is creationist. So from the word evolution and creation. Evolutionists, they mentioned that education started from primitive people, from the first occupants, inhabitants of the earth. And then creationist naman, education started from Adam and Eve. Okay. So modern-day education owes much of its system to the institutions established by the ancient civilizations of China, India, Israel, Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Dito yung ancient civilizations, sinasabi nila na dito maraming makikredit about the origin of education. Modern-day education. So, dito tayo mag-uumpisa. In the early conceptions of education, education for conformity lang and primitive education, yung mga primitive people. Kasi ang aim nila before is just to survive and to conform to the tribe to which they belong. Ganun lang dati. And the contents of their education is more on practical and theoretical education. Tell me and show me. Ganun lang sila. And then trial and error, enculturation, indoctrination. That's the education for conformity according to the primitive people. So, yun yung una. Early conceptions of when it comes to education. Okay, so first, sa education in terms of the primitive people, sa kanila lang is just for survival. Paano lang makasurvive. Next is Oriental education. So sa kanila naman is education for the preservation of social stability. So when we say Oriental, sila yung mga Chinese, Egyptians. So for them, the aim of education noon is to impress traditional ideas and customs in order to maintain and perpetuate the long-established social order. Just to maintain kung anong meron sila, kung anong status quo meron sa kanilang society. And ano ba yung content ng mga pinag-aralan nila? It's just for moral and theoretical training through memorization, through imitation. So that is the education for the preservation of social stability. Para lang maging stable yung kanilang society. Okay? So that is Oriental education. Let's go into the Chinese education. So Chinese, of course, they are the descendants from the, rivers or river banks of the, yung sinasabi nilang Huanghu and Yangtze River. Okay? And the aim of education, Chinese education, is to select and train people for public services. They give emphasis on modeling a person's character and moral values. Kasi sa kanila, their government believe that sa kanila, government ang may responsibility to provide education. Kaya their education is centered on the mastery of the Chinese language and classical literature. Especially sa work ni Confucius. Si Confucius yung the very first teacher in China. Nandyan din yung Analects, the most revered Chinese classical literature, kung saan napapaloob yung mga sayings ni Confucius. Okay, so that is for Chinese education. So pag Chinese education, syempre, ang very prominent dyan is si Confucius. Egyptian education, Egyptians were polytheist people because they worship many gods. Diba, meron silang tinatawag na pharaoh. Pharaohs were considered their god and king. Meron din silang mga priests and scribes na sila yung tuturo sa mga noble class, teachers of the noble class. Pero yung mga lower class, ang parents ang nagtuturo sa kanila. Because in Egyptian education, education was just highly practical and empirical. They devised a system of picture writing called hieroglyphics. Diba yung kung basta pag sinasabing Egyptian education na, yun yung mga writing sa wall. Pictures. Kaya pag pumunta ka ng Egypt at kukuha ka ng souvenir, ganoon ang makukuha mo yung mga pictures ng mga hieroglyphic writings or picture writings. The Egyptian education provide the modern world with the basic foundation of education, art, music, literature, and so on. Ang laki ng contribution ng Egyptian education sa modern education that we have. So after the education for the preservation of social order ng Oriental, di ba Orientals yung sa Chinese and Egyptians, the next one is education for the development of individuality. Ito naman yung Greek education. When you speak about Greek education, ang unang papasok sa inyo dyan is yung mga Spartans, Athenians. So, the aim of this period is to promote individual success and welfare through the harmonious development of the various aspects of human personality. For the Spartans, they need to develop a good soldier in each citizen. Si Athenian naman, to perfect man, body and mind, ang perfect para sa kanila, a sound mind and a sound body, for individual excellence needed for public usefulness. So, Greek education, of course, the proponents are the Greeks. Diba yung mga Spartans, more on military and physical training. Pag sinabing Sparta. But yung mga Athenians naman, sila yung mga liberated in terms of education. They have kanila ay principle of individuality. Yung Spartan ay competition and rivalry. Yun yung tinuturo sa kanila. Yun ang pagkakaiba ng Sparta and Athenians. So, let's dig on Greek education. The ancient Greece was divided into several polis or small city-states. So, ang race nila ay mixture of Germanic and Aryan. Sparta and Athens were two or more popular polis. So there is, sa kanila before, there is a constant struggle between Sparta and Athens that resulted in the so-called Peloponnesian War, which lasted for 27 years. Kaya 'di ba, when we say Greek, 'di ba yung mga Greek mythology, puro competition, puro physical training, puro, ang tawag doon, yung rivalry, yung patayan. So, that is for Greek education. Let's have this Spartan education. It is a purely military city-state. Mothers function as state nurses. At age 7, boys were turned over to a Paidomus, a military commander, who will take care of these boys until age 18. Then at 18, boys will prepare for the military training. Then at 20, they get assigned for actual war. At 30, they are compelled to many jobs and works. Sa kanila, girls' education was limited to the instructions given by their mothers. So, parang ano din, parang yung mandatory military training ng ibang countries din. Because of their system, walang naging famous na Spartan. Kasi, di ba, ang kanilang content of education kasi is just more on competition, more on rivalry, puro away, puro training, ganun lang sila. Whereas the Athenian education, yung mga Athens, ang kanilang goal naman is to have mens sana and corpore sano, yung sound mind in a sound body. Because that is the ultimate aim of Athenian education. So, if you are to look at or to compare the two, magka-opposite sila. The Athenians have democratic form of living. Democracy is the lasting legacy of Athens to the world. So, meron silang freedom. So, Athens preserved the family. All schools were private. Boys were separated from girls. From 0 to 7, boys stayed at home receiving training from Paidogogus. Yun yung mga educated slave. And then, pupunta sila sa Palaestra. It is a public gymnasium where boys had their physical training under Paido tribe. What else? So, tinuturuan din silang ng music, poetry, grammar. And then at the age of 18, if Athenian boy finishes training, he will be called an ephebus or a novice citizen. Then afterwards, magiging sophist yung iba, new class of teachers. So, the sophists were well-traveled men who were mostly non-citizen of Athens. Ito pala yung new class of teachers nila. They offered new perspective in learning through declamation, oration, grammar, and so on. So, maraming mga sophists na popular, like si Protagoras, chief of the sophists. Dito rin na umusbong ang mga great educational theorists na sina Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Okay, so kilala niyo naman siguro sila, di ba? Si Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Si Aristotle ang father of modern sciences. Greek universities, ito yung mga rhetorical schools. Kaya kung naririnig niyo yung mga pangalan ng mga schools, like yung may academy that is founded by Plato. Yung mga lyceum naman na sinasabi, kay Aristotle naman yon, di ba? Meron na Lyceum of the Philippines, ganon. Or Philippine Military Academy. These are all educational institutions. School of Stoics by Zeno, Epicurean by Epicurus. And then, famous alumni, tingnan nyo, mga famous alumni sa mga schools outside ng Greece. Alexander the Great, sila Euclid, and geometry. Eratosthenes, geography and astronomy, and then Archimedes for physics. So, maraming matatalino. So, that's the third one with regards to the Greek education with emphasis on Spartans and Athenians. After that, here comes the Roman education. Sa Romans naman, education for utilitarianism. When it's a utilitarianism, their aim is to educate the Roman youth for realizing national ideals. So, meron na ditong training for patriotism, nationalism, by means of realizing the national ideals of the country. So, ano yung content ng pinag-aaralan nila? Physical training, martial arts, use of war weapons. At, di ba, yung mga Romans, ganun din. So, sa elementary, they are more on memorization or imitation. Sa secondary naman, more on literary exercises, intensive drill on speech and grammar. So, Roman education, that is education for utilitarianism. Ang Roman education, they are more on pragmatic way. They strive to find practical application of the knowledge they acquired and activities they pursued. Kasi di ba pag pragmatic, sinasabi, kailangan may solution. Kung effective yung solution, then hindi siya true. Parang ganon. Di ba ang pragmatic is when it works, then it's true. Parang ganon. Okay? Early Roman education, that is a home-based education. Hellenized Roman education started when Rome contact with Greek civilization, then finally conquering Greece. So, sa Roman education elementary, yung kanilang 7 to 10 years old ay puro literature ang pinag-aaralan. Secondary, at the age of 10 to 16, grammar naman. And then sa higher education, college nila, puro rhetorics ang content, ang kailangan nilang pag-aralan. Okay? So, what is so special about Roman education? Yun, sa kanila is pragmatic education. National ideals naman sa kanila. Hindi lang para sa society, para sa tribe, or sa group, but it's for realizing, to train the youth for realizing national ideals. Yun yung sa Roman education. Next is individualistic humanism, or Italian, as proposed by Vittorino da Feltre. So this is education for rich or full life. Ano naman ito? The aim of education is to secure rich and full life for each individual through contacts with the ancient. So, they are learning, they are improving issues from the past, okay, with the ancient. So, same. Alam niyo yung mga concept ng education noon, more on grammar, literature. Wala pa noon kasi yung mga later na namusbong yung mga mathematics, science. and other topics, other subjects. So, ang method nila is text study, written themes, self-activity, self-expression. So, yan naman for Italian or individualistic humanism. Ganon din, ang aim nila is for the improvement of each individual. So, dito nag-umpisa yung modern conceptions na kanina, lahat nung i-discuss natin are the early conceptions of education. Ancient, kumbaga. Next is the Northern or Social Humanism. It was proposed by Desiderius Erasmus. So, when we say social humanism, from the word social, this is for social reform. So, what are the contents? It is purely religious, based on classical and biblical literature. How? It's through individualized instruction, repetition and mastery, motivation, use of praise, and rewards. So, kung tingnan nyo, long before, meron na rin praise and rewards. Yung reinforcers. Okay? Punishment, rewards, ganon. So, that's for Northern or Social Humanism. After which, nagkaroon na ng period of Reformation. So, kanina, it is more on social reform, but it is, the contents are purely religious. Dito naman is, the aim is now for religious moralism. And the proponent, we have Martin Luther. Now, what are the content of education in this period of Reformation? We have physical education, character education, math, history, science. So, unti-unti nang dumadami. Nandyan na yung sciences, mathematics, hindi na lang for physical, but for character education. Kasi religious moralism na yan. So, how it is through religious indoctrination also. And some sort of memorization. So, after the period of Reformation, nagkaroon naman ng Counter-Reformation. The aim of this period is to develop an unquestioning obedience to the authority of the church. So, nandun dapat yung 4 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and religion. Hindi na lang 3 R's. Kailangan i-include ang religion. So, adapting the lesson to the abilities, the needs, and interests of children, reviewing the previous lessons, repetition of mastery, memorization with understanding, use of textbooks. So, in the modern concept of education, ang proponents nito ay mga Jesuits, Christian Brothers, and then we have the education as training of the mind or formal discipline. Ang proponent nito naman si John Locke, to train the mind through rigorous exercises in order to develop intellectual capacities, to form the character. Sa kanya, ang character hindi lang moral, kundi kasama ang physical and mental. Classical languages and mathematics, physical, mental, yung moral ay yung good conduct. So, formal sensation, memory and reasoning, drill method. Yan naman yung method na ginagamit nila before. So, I repeat, si John Locke ang proponent ng formal discipline, education as training of the mind. Then we have rationalism, to enable man to think for themselves. philosophical, scientific knowledge, ethics, morality. So medyo nagiging broad na ang contents ng education. So ang method dito is critical analysis na siya, critical thinking, application of reason. Kasi nga, rationalism. They are teaching everyone to be rational. So, to enable man to think for themselves. Education in harmony with nature or naturalistic conception of education. And the aim of this type of education is to develop the individual in accordance with the laws of human development and to preserve the natural goodness of man. This time, may pagka-naturalistic na siya. So, holistic education para sa kanila is physical, moral, and intellectual. It was proposed by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And then education for patriotic citizenship or nationalistic conception to develop military preparedness and aggressiveness for the preservation and glorification of the state. So, ang main content ng education is social studies. So, dyan na-introduce yung social studies, pag-aaral ng social studies. So, the method is just practical. And then, education as psychological development to direct and control growth and development through appropriate educational procedures. So, according to Johann Pestalozzi, social regeneration of humanity. Kay Friedrich Froebel naman, development of the child, sabi niya. Sabi naman ni Jonathan Herbart, kailangan din ng moral development. And then, sabi naman ni Edward Thorndike, kailangan ma-realize ang fullest satisfaction of human wants. So, in education as psychological development, ang content is math, science, language, arts, history, and literature. So, ano yung mga methods? Siyempre, ang pinag-aralan lang ay yung mga principles and laws of learning. And then, natural, ngayon psychological. Now we also have education as a scientifically determined process. So, scientific na siya. To make education a science. Science naman ang content. And then, pumasok na ang experimental, problem-solving, scientific method, and research. So, kumbaga, if you try to trace, pa-modern ng pa-modern din siya. And then, education as social reconstruction or social experimentalism to prepare for a progressive rebuilding of the social order. Social studies pa din, but it should improve or it should enable critical examination of the social conditions and social problems. Ayan yung mga reconstructionists, di ba? Social reconstructionism, you need to identify or examine the different social issues and be able to contribute in the solution of these problems. So, how? Kailangan mag-participate, intelligent participation and cooperation in civic affairs. Lahat ng community affairs, society affairs, programs, vocational, social relationship of one's job. So, ito naman yung mga methods. field trips, directed classroom study, or community life. And then, sa medieval education, started with the Roman Empire, fell around 400 AD. And then Christianity was declared as the official religion of the state by Constantine the Great, and so on. But when I say medieval education, dito pumasok yung mga church leaders. Si Pope ang leader of the church sa Rome, and then followed by mga cardinals, archbishops, bishops, and priests. So, dyan din na-involve yung mga monasticism, scholasticism. Sa monastery, syempre, nandun yung mga monks. They stayed in monasteries which serve as repositories of classical literature. Scholasticism naman, intellectual discipline. Si Anselm, father of scholasticism. Middle Ages, ganun pa din, catechumenal school, catechetical school, cathedral, episcopal. So, more on the ano pa rin siya, church. And then, umusbong din yung mga medieval universities. The most important contribution of the Middle Ages, yung mga medieval universities. But they are focused on teaching medicine.
Sir, nakamute ka po.
So, education during the pre-Spanish period na. So, before the coming of the Spaniards, sa Philippine educational system tayo. I mean, ang basis natin. Ang aim ng education is for survival, conformity, and enculturation. So, informal education pa, religion-oriented. Ganon din, yung tell me and show me. Tell me and show me is ano lang, gagayahin mo lang para matuto ka. Parang ganito ang gawin mo, ganon lang. Then, natututo na yung bata. And through observation, trial and error method. Yan yung education during the pre-Spanish period. During the Spanish period, syempre, ang goal lang naman ng mga Spaniards is to propagate Christianity. So, during their time, ang content ng pag-aaral natin is more on religious education, vocational courses. Ang method nila is dictation and memorization. The vernacular was used as the medium of instructions in the parochial schools. Parochial schools kasi during the Spanish era, ang mga simbahan ang ginagamit na schools. Okay? So, when we say vernacular, kung ano yung dialect, kung ano yung language sa area na yun ang ginagamit na medium of instruction. So, the religious orders introduced the parochial school. But then, education is suppressed kasi it is only exclusive for the elite. Yung mga mayayaman lang ang natuturuan, ang nakakapag-aral during the Spanish period. And the rest, wala. Sa bahay lang sila, natuturuan ng mga magulang. Kaya kung iisipin nyo or i-recall yung sa life, works, and writings of Rizal, diba? Dito siya naggagalaiti kasi very rampant ang injustice. Hindi nakakapag-aral. Sila okay kasi sila Rizal naman ay nasa sila medyo higher class. Pero yung karamihan hindi na nakakapag-aral. Okay? So during the Spanish period, ang very prominent lang dito is Christianity or religious education just to propagate Christianity. After the Spaniards, sumunod ang mga Americans. So, syempre, ang mga Americans naman, meron din silang aim na gustong gawin, and that is to teach democracy as a way of life. So, the democratic form of government that we have was credited to the Americans. Ang method, socialized recitation, student participation. So, dito na nagkaroon ng student participation. Kasi nga, democracy. Reading, writing, arithmetic, language, eto na yung mga laman ng pinag-aaralan, including American history. So, it was also during the American period na formal education was established. Dito lang nagkaroon ng formal education. Formal education means yung papasok ang mga bata sa school, na-arrange na yung grade, elementary, high school, mga ganon. Education during the Commonwealth period, 1935 to 1942. So, eto yung mga aims. Siyempre, to teach the duties of citizenship, to develop moral character, personal discipline. Kasi yung purpose naman why we are studying yung history, historical foundations, para makita nyo yung sequence. Kung saan nanggaling yung mga ginagawa natin, tinuturo natin ngayon regarding holistic development. Okay, like for example, kung sa moral education, character education, may vocational, di ba? So after the Americans, sumunod ang Japanese era. Kahit ilang years lang sila, 2 to 3 years. They strive for the diffusion of the Japanese language in the Philippines and to terminate the use of the English language in schools. Siyempre, kaaway nila ang Amerika. So, gusto nila noon, they need to stress na ang gamitin sa mga schools ay Japanese language para totally na erase nila ang English. So, what else? To stress the dignity of manual labor. Ang content ng study during the Japanese era is or are vocational, technical, agriculture, values, singing of Japanese songs. Pero since short time lang naman sila doon sa Philippines, kaya wala tayong masyadong natutunan from the Japanese. Health and vocational education. Okay? So, pag tinanong, pag Japanese era, ano lang naman, doon lang tayo sa technical and vocational. Then after the Japanese, 1946 onwards, Republic, naging yung Republic of the Philippines na siya. So the aim is for the realization of the democratic ideals and way of life. Nagkaroon na ng promotion of equal educational for opportunities for all. So lahat nakakapag-aral na. So what are the contents? Social orientation, training for occupation, promotion of democratic nation building, and a new trust on community development. That's from 1943 to 1972 during the Republic. And then from 1972 to 1986, ito naman yung during the new society. So, ang aim na is for the national development. Curricular changes in elementary. At sa elementary, magpo-focus na sa 3 R's. Kailangan in-integrate na ang values in all learning areas. And there should be an emphasis on mastery learning. Sa secondary naman is increase in time allotment. Kasi sa Philippines, meron pa yung time na ang klase sa high school ay hanggang hapon. From morning until 6 o'clock. Kasi dito rin na-introduce yung CAT as new courses. YDT is Youth Development Training. Citizens Army Training naman yung CAT. What else? During this time, it made education relevant to the needs of the changing world. Dito rin, during the new society na mayroong bilingual education policy. When you say bilingual education policy, English and Filipino ang ginagamit as media of instruction. And then from 1986 to 2000, to promote national, yung 1976 to 1972 to 86, to promote national development. But 1986 to 2000, to promote national development and values education. So dito na the national government appropriates the highest budget allocation to education. Kasi nga, may education for all. Kaya ang pinakamalaking budget dapat is for or to be allocated in education to promote and improve yung mga public schools, buildings, the teachers, implementation of NESC, yung National Elementary and Secondary Curriculum. O, ganun din, focus on the development of 3 R's, student-centered. Kung tita nyo, student-centered na noon. Cognitive, affective, manipulative-based curriculum. Science and technology, bilingual policy, and so on. What else? Nagkaroon ng trifocalization. When you say trifocalization, yung nag-merge yung tatlo, dati kasi ay DEX ang tawag. I presume hindi nyo na naabutan. Yung Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Pinalitan nila. Ito kasi noon, nandyan na lahat. So, dinivide into 3. Yung department, yung DE, Education, ginawang DepEd. And then, Culture and Sports, Technical Education Skills, TESDA, at saka Commission on Higher Education. Sineparate siya. So, nandun yung sa DepEd, basic education siya from kindergarten to high school, and then yung college naman yun sa CHED, and then yung mga vocational programs sila naman sa TESDA. Kaya yun yung trifocalization. Hinati nila sa tatlo para magkaroon ng focus. It was also during this time that na-establish ang Teacher Education Council and Centers of Excellence. Centers of Excellence, kasi yung, let's say, may mga universities na COE, Centers of Excellence sila sa engineering, Centers of Excellence sila sa medicine, yan. Diba? Kung minsan nakikita nyo sa mga university, nakalagay doon, Center of Excellence. Ibig sabihin, na-approve or na-prove nila na yung university nila ay Center of Excellence in a respective course or respective program. And then, here comes the 21st century to provide the school-age population and young adult with skills, knowledge. In short, yan yung inaano natin today. Andyan na yung Republic Act 9155, yung Governance of Basic Education Act, yun yung 9155, to provide the overall framework for, ayan, yung magkakaroon ng school head empowerment, school-based management, and so on. And then, kasama naman sa 21st century, yung existing na program na meron tayo na ang K-12 program, which was implemented, the implementation started on school year 2012-2013. And kindergarten is now a part of the compulsory education system. Kasi noon hindi pa. Ano lang siya, may nursery, may daycare, kindergarten. Hindi siya kumbaga compulsory. Na pwedeng mag-grade 1 ang bata kahit walang kindergarten. Pero starting 2012, KG is now a part of the education system. Compulsory na siya. Meaning, hindi na pwedeng mag-grade 1 ang bata na kung hindi siya naka-graduate ng kindergarten. Kahit 1 year lang. And then, new curriculum for grade 1 and 7 was introduced. Okay, and then the phase implementation will be finished 2017 and 18. Yan yung unang batch na graduate. And then, introduce yung grade 12 and year 6. Last year yata yung first batch na graduate sa college, yung mga K-12 batch. So, that is on the historical foundations of education. Any question? Okay, let's proceed. Now let's have philosophical foundations of education. So, philosophy and the teacher professionalism, kasi when you say philosophy, all professions have philosophical underpinnings, basis, kumbaga. And so with educational philosophy, this is one of the important aspects of teachers' professional knowledge. So dapat we became teachers na guided by a certain philosophy. Ano ba kasi, 'di ba? Minsan tatanong sa inyo, what is your philosophy in life? What is your guiding principle in life? Bakit ka kumuha ng teacher? Ano ba ang gusto mong mangyari? Okay? So those are your philosophy. So what really is philosophy? So this is the study of theories of knowledge, truth, existence, and morality. So when we say theories, again, these are set of related principles that are based on observations. But these observations, they are used to explain additional observation. Yun yung theory. And so, nagkaroon ng philosophy as a description of the way us professionals ought to practice. Kasi meron na tayong guide, kumbaga. There are 3 philosophical branches. We have metaphysics, epistemology, and axiology. So, epistemology investigates the origin, the nature, methods, and limits of human knowledge. Like, how is knowledge determined? What is the relationship between cognition and knowledge? Dito rin papasok ang logic, which is the process of deriving valid conclusions from basic principles. So, that is epistemology. origin and nature. And then yung axiology naman, it investigates values and ethics. Aesthetics then, beauty. How is beauty determined? And then the third one, we have metaphysics, or sometimes it is called ontology. It studies the nature of our existence, or the nature of our being, and the different underlying principles about life. Like, for example, to what extent is your life basically free? What are you here for? Okay, you need to study the nature of your existence. Since we are dealing with education, what really are the purpose? So what do you think the purpose of education is? Of course, to give knowledge, to transmit culture, to help people adapt to society, to give religious education. What else? To provide practical hands-on experience, training, self-realization, etc. So, when you are being asked about the purpose of education, it depends on your view. Okay? Because it compasses almost everything that we are that we are enjoying in the world. Sometimes, here, why do some parents choose or reject certain schools? Bakit kailangan mamili? Dito ka mag-aral, doon ka mag-aral. Because sometimes they are basing it on the philosophy of the school. Because philosophy influences daily educational life in many ways. Like, ano ba ang gusto mo? Montessori type ng school, so doon ka sa isang Montessori. Okay, kung medyo ano ka naman, doon ka sa public school. Or kung medyo angat ka, doon ka sa private school. It depends on certain influences of philosophy. So when we speak about philosophy, there are 4 primary educational philosophies. First is idealism. Okay. So, ang proponent ng idealism is si Plato. From the word ideas, ideals. According to him, in order to know something, we need to withdraw from the use of our senses and rely on purely intellectual approach. So, hindi na i-involve ang experiences, ang senses, kailangan purely intellectual approach siya. Ideals kasi siya, or ideas. According to him, also, reality is an unchanging world of perfect ideas and universal truth. So, isang clue din ang idealism is to search for universal truth. Meaning, to Plato, truth is perfect and eternal and not found in the world matter. Reality is made up of absolute truth. Meaning, it is in the ideals of life itself. So, in this philosophy, education is transformation because ideas can change lives. Okay? Yan yung idealism, si Plato. Okay, what is the goal of education in idealism? To develop the individual spiritually, mentally, morally. So, idealism, mind, soul, and spirit. To discover and develop each individual's abilities and full moral excellence in order to better serve society. Ganito naman lahat ang aim actually ng mga philosophies. So, ano naman ang role ng teacher sa isang idealist school? The teacher should be an excellent example or role model of the student. A teacher should be intellectually and morally competent. The teacher is the questioner. He or she encourages students to think and ask more. Si learner naman imitates the teacher who is an exemplar of an ideal person. So in idealism school, kailangan perfect ka as a teacher. Kasi ikaw yung example, ikaw yung ini-imitate ng mga bata. Because you are an exemplar of an ideal person. So the learner tries to do the very best he can and strive toward perfection. So in terms of the school, an idealist school train future leaders, develop morality, and to distinguish right from wrong, and so on. In an ideal school, Socratic method ang ginagamit. Kasi kung ideas kasi yan, paano lalabas ang ideas? Socratic method. Ano ba ang Socratic method? Yung Q&A. Critical discussions, lecture. The curriculum should be subject matter curriculum. Back to basic approach in education. Kasi, di ba, idealism, sabi natin, is we should teach our students to think. We should encourage our students to give answers, to ask for more through the art of questioning that we are giving. Okay? So that's idealism, unchanging truth. Nakuha nyo? So, I repeat, pag idealism, absolute truth, universal truth, what else? Sabi kasi dito, we cannot rely on our senses alone because our senses can deceive us. What else? Because truth sometimes is only in the eye of the beholder. So, sabi ni Plato, in order to know something, we need to withdraw from the use of our senses. Huwag gamitin ang mga senses. Kailangan rely on purely intellectual approach. Okay? So, that is for idealism. The second one is realism. Kung si Plato sa idealism, realism naman si Aristotle. Pero nandun na rin si Harvard, si Comenius. According to realism, real, or a realist school, it stresses that the world is made up of real, substantial, and material entities. Dito naman, knowledge is derived from nawawala. Okay. Okay pa rin kayo?
Yes po, sir.
So, knowledge is derived from sense experience, meaning it comes through empirically proven facts. That reality is made up of natural laws. Diba sabi ng idealism kanina, hindi i-withdraw nyo ang the use of senses. Dito naman, kailangan you derive from sense experiences. The idea that reality is what it is and possesses an independent identity regardless of the belief of the observer. So we perceive the actually existing physical world. Kung anong meron, yun. We get knowledge kung anong meron sa mundo. Okay? So in a realism context, Ang goal of education is to provide students with essential knowledge to survive the natural world. To equip students with information to understand current event. Yung tabula rasa, di ba? Yung ano ba yung tabula rasa? Yung blank slate. Kailangan ma-feed siya ng ma-feed with information to understand the situations or the status quo. So in a realist school, the role of a teacher is readily adapting new technology to teach skill and disciplined knowledge. What else? Same din ang method, question and answer. Pero formal ways of teaching, mas formal lang siya. Demonstration, sensory experience, yun lang. Sa idealism kasi hindi nila pina-priority ang sensory experiences. So dito, kailangan ng observation, experimentation, yan. So sa realism, syempre, ang curriculum nila, basics of math, science, and reading. Learner can team only when he follows the laws of learning. Through sensory experience, he can perceive the natural order of the world. So when you say sensory experience, with the use of the senses, the 5 senses, doon siya natututo. Doon niya nalalaman kung what are the existing issues or problems in the world. Okay? So that is realism. So far, nakukuha nyo naman yung mga pagkakaiba. The third is existentialism. Ang proponent niyan, originally si Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre. Pero in some references, kasama na rin si Kierkegaard, si Nietzsche. Okay? Sa existentialist naman, from the word exist or existence, man shapes his being as he lives. So what else? Knowledge is subjective to the person's decision and varies from one person to another. Kung paano mo na-view yung life mo, yung existence mo, so be it. Because according to Sartre, existence precedes essence. That is, we are the one creating our own future. People must create themselves and they must create their own meaning of life. Kung pinili mong maging teacher, so be it. That's your choice. Yun ang essence ng life according to you. Diba? That's existentialism. The choice is up to the individual. Okay? So, pag existentialism, may choices. Reality for individual is eternal. Okay? What else? Ayun, yung pinakaano dito is choices. Ang goal of education in an existentialist school is they should focus on the needs of the individual, both cognitive and affective. What else? Stresses individuality. Bakit individuality? Kasi nga, we are, kumbaga, tayo ang mamimili ng ating kapalaran. Kumbaga. Okay? Individuals are responsible also of consequences. Siyempre, kung yun ang choices mo, kung ano ang consequence, kailangan mo ring, kailangan maging responsible ka din. Since, ano siya, existence. Good education would encourage individuals to ask questions like, who am I? Where am I going? Why I am here? So if you are asking that, if you are to ask those questions, kung masasagot mo siya, yan yung mga tanong na usually sinasagot sa isang existentialist group, existentialist institution. So, good education is one that emphasizes the individuality through intellectual journeys that we see and understand ourselves. So, the aim of existentialism is to make the world better, to train the individual for significant and meaningful existence. Free choosing, correct, Ma'am Rosabel? Okay, so that's existentialism. Role of the teacher, same pa rin. As teachers, we assist students in their personal journey, aid children in knowing themselves. O kasi nga, syempre, we should teach our students to choose the best path, choose the best direction for themselves para maging successful sila in the future. Hindi tayo nagdi-dictate na, eto ang kunin mo, eto ang kailangan mong gawin. We only support and assist them. Okay, fourth is pragmatism by John Dewey. Sometimes kasama rin si James. So, pragmatists believe that the curriculum should reflect the society, emphasizing the needs and interests of the children. Encourages people to find processes that work in order to achieve their desired result. So, pragmatic, should be action-oriented. Pragmatism is yung sinabi ko kanina na if it works, then it's true. Sa mga experiences mo, kung nasubukan mo na at maganda, yun ang kailangan mong kumbaga gawin or sundin. Kung hindi, kailangan mo siyang improve. Kailangan maganda lagi ang results. So, what will work to achieve my desired ends? Halimbawa, may problem ka. You need to check for speculative thought and then do an action and then find the result. And then tatanungin mo, do the results solve the problem? If yes, then the solution is valid. Ganon. So, ang goal dyan is hahanapin mo lagi kung saan magiging tama, ano yung correct solution sa isang problem. Okay? So, the learner learn from experiences through interaction to the environment. And then, kung maganda yung outcome, then they should follow. Ganon yun, yung sa pragmatic. To teach the student how to think so that he can adjust to the demands of an ever-changing world. Primary goal of education is growth. Education is for life, teaching students how to live, standing on their feet. Ano pa ba? Sa pragmatic. So, in pragmatic school, ang teacher ay helper, guide, arranger of experiences, facilitator, not authoritarian. So, yung ginagamit nating curriculum ngayon ay galing sa pragmatic philosophy. Bakit? Kasi ngayon, student-centered na, facilitator na lang tayo as teachers. Hindi tayo authoritarian individual. Hindi kagaya noon na authoritarian tayo. So, we teachers should encourage, offer suggestions, question, and help plan and implement the courses of study basing on the needs and the demands of your modern students or learners. O, kasi learner-centered curriculum. So, ang pragmatist curriculum is both process and content. So, say process and content, both experience and knowledge. Okay? So, what is so special about pragmatic education? Pragmatic philosophy. So, pag pragmatic philosophy, kailangan nandun yung needs and interests of the children. Okay? Meaning, encouraging people to find processes that will work, okay, in order to achieve desired result. Dapat yung nag-work lang yung correct na solution. Yun yung pragmatism. Okay? Now, in addition to those 4 philosophies mentioned, we also have perennialism by Robert Hutchins and others. Pag perennial naman, perennial, di ba? Ang perennial ay parang laging nag-occur, parang gano'n. This is a philosophy that suggests that nature, including human nature, is constant. Lagi yan, kumbaga. Okay? Knowledge that has endured through time and space. What else? Perennialists believe that when students are immersed in the study of profound and enduring ideas, they will appreciate learning for its own sake and become true intellectuals. Okay? Yan naman yung mga perennialists. Now, ano ba ang goal ng perennialism? To develop the power of thought. Okay? Interprets and tells eternal truth. Yun naman ang role ng teacher. What else? The teacher spends more time teaching about concepts and explaining how these concepts are meaningful to the students. Perennialism. Okay? Para matandaan ang perennialism, so, ano ba ang clue natin for perennialism? Constant. Human nature is constant. What else? Unchanging, yun nga, constant siya, kaya unchanging siya. Okay, next is Essentialist by William Bagley and others. Yes, so according to Ma'am Roosevelt, ideas that have lasted over centuries. Kasi nga, nandun yung kumbaga, tested through time and space. So, yun yung perennialism. Yun yung philosophy na yun based from unchanging or constant values. Essentialism, from the word essence, essentials. So, kung ano lang yung mga essentials sa life, yun lang yung pinag-aaralan. Like, this philosophy suggests that a critical core of knowledge and skills that all people should possess. Like sa mga bata, kailangan back to basic. Ang essentials doon, yung unang ituturo sa kanila, yung 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Teaching the basic and essential knowledge and skills. Kaya tinawag na essentialism. Okay? They focus on logical sequencing of the curriculum and long calendar days. Logical sequencing, syempre, bago matutong magbasa ang bata, kailangan mo na siyang mag-aral ng sounds, phonetics, ganon. Yung CVC, bago naman siya makapag-construct ng paragraph, kailangan mo na siyang mag-construct ng sentences, ganon. Okay, phrases. So, kailangan ng logical sequencing. So, essentialism naman is essential knowledge and skills. Receive instruction in skills of reading, reading, measurement, arithmetic. Next, progressivism. Progressivism. Progress. Education is always in the process of development. So, syempre, ang tinuturo dito kung ano yung kagandahang aral para sa development. Kasi progressivism yun eh. And it is being centered on experiences, interests, and abilities of the students. Meaning, it comes through concrete facts. Focus on the whole child and the cultivation of individuality. Kay John Dewey naman siya. Progressivism. Minsan kasi, from the word progress, development. Siyempre, the goal of education is to provide the pupil the necessary skills to be able to interact with his ever-changing environment. Kaya yung mga generation ng students today, dapat they should be taught the necessary skills to be able to adapt, to be able to adjust what kind of environment, what kind of situation they are into. So progressivists strive to make schooling both interesting and useful. Learning by doing. Yan yung progressivism. The learner learns through experiences by doing. And so, the teacher plans lessons that arouse curiosity and encourage the student to develop a higher level of knowledge. And then, we have social reconstructionism. So, dito naman sa social reconstructionism, it gives emphasis on addressing social questions and a quest to create a better society. Kaya social reconstruct. Kailangan ma-reconstruct yung society. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? It centers on the idea of constant change. Society is changing, kaya dapat ang ituro sa mga bata, yung solution, ituturo din sa mga bata, mga social issues, para alam nila kung paano nila masosolve, paano sila maka-adjust, kumbaga, paano sila makahanap ng best solution for their improvement. Okay? So, to a reconstructionist point of view, the world is ceaselessly evolving whole, and its inhabitants need to be involved themselves also in order to cope with the situations around them. So, kaya yung inyong table of specs ngayon, kailangan na rin ng global issues sa Prof. Ed and Gen Ed. Bakit kailangan ng global issues? Kasi dapat tayo ding teachers, hindi lang tayo naka-confine sa tinuturo natin. Kailangan ding malaman nyo kung ano nangyayari sa mundo. Para alam nyo din kung paano i-adjust ang sarili nyo, paano i-solve. Ganon din sa mga bata. Okay? Ang goal is for change and social reform. Curriculum focuses on students' experiences. Now, si learner takes social action on real problems such as violence, hunger, international terrorism, inflation, discrimination, inequality, and environmental problems. So, dapat, yung mga learner natin, under this philosophy, magkakaroon sila ng social action. Hindi yung wala lang silang pakialam. Okay? Ano naman ang role ni teacher? The teacher uses community-based learning and brings the world into the classroom. Kailangan mag-value integration tayo lagi about what is happening to the world, to the society, para naman at least ang mga bata, magkaroon sila ng idea kung paano nila isosolve yung problem. Okay? So that is for social reconstructionism. And we have also eclecticism. Actually, hindi naman to philosophy. It's just a combination of all the philosophies. Okay? Dealing with all various models. So if your school or if your philosophy in life involves 1, 2, 3 or combination of many philosophies, you can call yourself eclectic or eclecticist under eclecticism. Okay? So synthesizing and personal interpretation of various models to draw out the best components for yourself. Okay? Kasi wala naman talagang ideal na philosophy. Kung gusto mo ng essential, yung essentials lang ay ituturo. Dapat sa generation ngayon, dapat ay social reconstructionism. Kasi they need to know what's happening around them. And they need to take action, social action about the world. Kung gusto naman na pragmatic lang or let's say realism lang, but if you want a combination, a synthesis of the different models, then use eclecticism. Okay? Kaya maganda rin itong, let's say for example, if tatanungin nila, what is your philosophy in life, educational philosophy in life as a teacher? Di ba tinatanong din yan during interview pag nag-apply kayo ng job? Pwede mo sabihin eclecticism kasi this is a combination of combination of various models or various philosophies of education such as, ayan, doon ka napapasok. Okay? So, mostly all these philosophies are, the contribution of the Western philosophies of education. Now, let's go over din yung mga Eastern philosophies. Kasi nakatulong din naman ito sa ating ine-enjoy na philosophy of education na meron tayo ngayon. One is Hinduism, kay Mahatma Gandhi. So, syempre, pag Hinduism, Hindi sa India. Sa Hinduism, ang proponent si Mahatma Gandhi. So, sabi niya, an ideal way of life can be achieved through yoga. Okay? Yan naman ang Hinduism. Sa Hinduism din yung karma, chain of causes and consequences. Sabi ng Hinduism education, actions we perform today can have consequences for us into the future. Ganun din yung nirvana. Ang nirvana is the permanent liberation from life. Okay? After Hinduism, we also have Buddhism. Ang Buddhism naman, si Siddhartha Gautama ang proponent. They believe in the Four Noble Truths. if you recall the Four Noble Truths ng Buddhism, ito yung suffering, the cause of suffering, what else? The end of suffering, and the path that leads to the end of suffering. Yan yung Four Noble Truths. Or more simply put, sabi ng mga Buddhist, suffering exists. And this suffering has a cause, but it has an end. And it has a cause to bring about its end. Yun yung noble truth. And they also believe in the law of karma, kagaya din ng Hinduism. So, Buddhism attempts to help the individual conquer the suffering of human existence through the elimination of desire and ego and attainment of the state of nirvana. Okay, yun yung Buddhism. Third is Confucianism. Siyempre si Confucius. Ano naman ang contribution ni Confucius? It teaches moral life through devotion to the family, loyalty, and it stresses on the 5 cardinal virtues. What are these? Benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and sincerity. Yan yung 5 cardinal virtues ni Confucianism. To practice reciprocity. Di ba kay Confucius galing yung don't do to others what you would not want yourself, to rule by moral example instead of by force and violence, and so forth. Okay. Fourth is Taoism, kay Lao Tzu. Naman ito. Tao means a way of life, a philosophy advocating simplicity, frugality, what else? They believe that Tao is the source of all being or ultimate reality. 5, Zen Buddhism, Japanese version. Ang ano naman dito ay they believe in the third eye. Yun naman sa Zen Buddhism. Third eye means to see things which are invisible to the naked eyes and to get attuned to the things around us. And this serves as, let's say, warning or improvement. And Zen Buddhism encourages meditation or mind awakening. So when you say Zen, these are set of teachings, parang awakening or complete awakening or enlightenment. Then we have Islam. Sa mga Muslims naman to, the name Muhammad literally means praiseworthy. Siyempre, ang emphasis dito is the 5 pillars. Belief in Allah, you need to pray 5 times a day, perform fasting, almsgiving, and you have to go to a pilgrimage. Yun naman yung 5 pillars sa Islam education. Okay? So, yun naman yung mga Eastern philosophies. Now, meron ding ibang philosophies pa, idaanan lang natin, like rationalism. Okay? Being rational. It is any view appealing to reason as a source of knowledge or justification. Kung, di ba, sabi nila, kung rational na, maging rational ka naman. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung appealing to reason. Phenomenologies, phenomenon, from the word phenomenon, meaning that which appears. Okay? So, kung ano yung making the structures of consciousness and the phenomena which appear in act of consciousness. So, kung ano yung nag-appear, yun yung kailangan pagtuunan ng pansin. Kung ano yung naganap, ano yung problema ngayon, parang ganyan. Phenomenologies, yan. Next is hedonism. Sa mga hedonist naman, di ba, ang tandaan nyo lang dito is pleasure. Pleasure is the only thing that is good for a hedonist person. Lahat ng klase ng pleasure, doon lang siya nagko-concentrate, nagfo-focus. Epicureanism, ito naman kay Epicurus. Ang sabi ni Epicurus, to attain a state of tranquility and freedom from fear as well as body pain. Kailangan we need to seek for the greatest good. Kung gusto mong ma-attain yung state of freedom sa fear at sa pain. Utilitarianism, contribution to society, contribution to happiness, pleasure. What else? Empiricism, knowledge arises from experiences. Ano lang to? Daan-daan natin kasi ano naman sila eh. Basa-basahin nyo na lang later on. I will convert this PowerPoint into PDF na post ko sa group. Naturalism, syempre about nature. Materialism kay Karl Marx. Scholasticism, monasticism, radical, liberal, ano lang naman yan. Okay. So what is the implication of these philosophies? Why are we studying these philosophies as a teacher? Or what is the importance of studying these philosophies? So the philosophies help shape the present status of education, which include educational agenda like curriculum planning, teaching strategies that are appropriate for a specific subject and type of learners. Diba? Diba sabi ko kanina, with the kind of learners that we have, kailangan mo ring i-base doon yung philosophy na gagamitin. Like social reconstructionism, like pragmatism. Okay? So, let's say for example, in curriculum planning, especially yung mga curriculum developers, syempre sa paggawa nila ng curriculum, they need to consider kung anong klaseng learners ang meron tayo ngayong generation na to. Okay? So that we as teachers can also make the necessary strategy sa pagtuturo which are appropriate sa subject na ituturo mo and the type of learners that you have. Okay, so that is for the philosophies of education. Philosophical foundations of education. Okay, last topic is sociological and anthropological foundations of education. Sociological, syempre, sociology, society, social, yan. So, the science of man and society is sociology. Sociology study the patterns of human behavior. What is society? A group of organized individuals who think of themselves as a distinct group, who live together, sharing the same culture, occupying the same territory, interrelates, interacts, and so on. Having the same aspirations and goals, that is what we call as society. When we speak about socialization, this is the process of adapting or conforming to the common needs and interests of a social group. Pag sinabi nilang makipag-socialize ka, syempre, you need to share your aspirations, share your ideas para makapag-conform ka sa common needs and interests of the social group. And so, you can also learn their attitudes, values, actions appropriate to you as individual. So what then are the agents of socialization? We have family, school, church, and mass media dapat yon. Mass media. So, family, siyempre the smallest social institution whose members are united by blood, marriage, and so on. School, basic enculturation of the group. Siyempre, dyan natututo ang mga bata. Kasi ang basic function ng school is of teaching and learning. Church also. Mass media. What else? Government. Social institution. Family. Okay. Smallest social institution ang family. Siyempre, what are the functions of the family? Ang mga basic lang. Health education, ethics, socialization, psychomotor, recreational, academic. Lahat. Di ba sabi natin lagi, lahat dapat nag-uumpisa sa family. Okay? So, when you say family, affinity, co-resident, pag conjugal family, ito yung husband, wife, and children who are not of age yet. Small family. Consanguinity family, nandun yung parent and his children and other people. Matrilocal consists of a mother and her children. Patrilocal naman yung father and her children. Okay? That's the first agent. Second, school. Siyempre, sa school, center of learning, doon nakaka-accumulate ng experiences. Ano pa? Purposes of school, cognitive, political, social, and economic purposes. Roles of the school, agent of socialization, cultural transmission. Children, because in school, the children learn how to get along with other students. Ano pa? The school as an agent of cultural transmission. Anong pagkakaiba ng enculturation sa acculturation? Ang enculturation, yan yung the passing on of group customs, belief, and traditions from one generation to the next generation lang. Okay? From one generation to the next generation. Ang acculturation naman, learning other culture. Passing of customs, belief, and tradition through interaction, intermarriages. Yun yung acculturation. Others. Pag inculturation, within. From one generation to the next generation lang. Agent of cultural change. Okay? Ano pa? Kinds of group. Primary, secondary, peer, circle, gang. Okay, those are basic. Crowd. Pagkakaiba ng crowd sa audience. Ang crowd, they have shared emotion and feelings. Pag audience, walang interaction. Madami lang tao, pero di sila magkakakilala, walang interaction. Pag crowd naman, meron silang common emotion, shared feelings, gano'n. Yung bang may common purpose. School as agent of modernization. Okay. Church. Ano naman ang function ng church? A lifetime school of learning. Siyempre, sa church, history, sa Bible, prophecies, values, ano pa ba? Divine values, belief in higher being, doctrination, code of conduct, religious rituals. Yan yung mga matututunan sa church. Sa government, of course, since it is an institution entrusted with making and enforcing the rules of the society, ang government kasi ang nag-regulate sa mga policies. So, kaya sumusunod tayo sa government. And then, social problems, social control, process. Sa anthropology naman tayo. Origin and development of man, his work and achievements, which include the study of physical, intellectual, moral, social, and cultural development of man, including his customs, mores, folkways, and belief. Yan yung anthropology. Dito napapaloob yung culture. Okay? Yung sociology kanina, ano lang sa origin of man naman. Dito, origin din pero development of man through culture. Okay? Dito napapaloob yung culture. What is culture? Shared products of human learning, set of learned behavior. Yan. Culture is transferable, dynamic. Ito, minsan meron ito sa mga exams. Culture is learned, pakikipagkapwa-tao, family orientation, joy and humor, hard work, ability to survive. Yan yung positive. Yung weakness of the Filipino character, yan naman yung mga negative. First is extreme personalism. Because sometimes we Filipinos take things personally kasi. Kaya meron tayong extreme personalism. Like, for example, interpretations, criticisms, praises. Extreme family-centeredness. We Filipinos are known to be known with close family ties. Kaya minsan nasosobrahan natin na naging extreme kasi ang family-centeredness. Lack of discipline. Passivity and lack of initiative. Diba? Minsan din, sabi nila, kailangan mong pukpukin bago magtrabaho. One waits to be told what has to be done. There is a strong reliance on others. Like, yan yung natin yung passivity and lack of initiative. That we are relying on the government, leaders, kaya to do the things for us. Kaya yung halimbawa, yung iba umaasa na lang sa bigay ng gobyerno. Wala silang initiative, kumbaga. There is lack of initiative. Colonial mentality. This is very common. Filipinos have a colonial mentality which is made up of, let's say, 2 dimensions, sabi nila. The first is lack of patriotism. And the second is actual preference for foreign things. Minsan din natin pinapatronize yung mga products sa Philippines. Mas prefer natin yung mga foreign fashion, foreign entertainment, lifestyle, technology, consumer items. Kanya-kanya syndrome. Ito yung sasabi ng selfishness, self-serving attitude. Sometimes this attitude generates a feeling of envy, competitiveness towards others, particularly one's peers who seem to have gained, let's say, some status or prestige. Yung hinihila mo siya pababa. So, this demonstrates the so-called crab mentality. Diba? Using, let's say, chismis, intriga, unconstructive criticism just to bring others down. Lack of analysis and self-reflection. Yun naman ang nature ng Filipinos kasi sometimes we joke about the most serious matters and this prevents looking deeply into the problem. Like, sinasabi natin minsan na, okay lang yan. We are satisfied with the superficial explanations and superficial, yung mababaw na explanation, and superficial solution to every problem. So what is the anthropological, sociological implications to education? Bakit natin pinag-aralan din to? The curricular program of all learning institutions should be examined by CHED and BLEPT so that those will be responsive to the needs of society. Parents should be involved in the school projects and activities and in culturation and socialization process. Kaya nga meron tayong parents-teacher community involvement para malaman din natin kung anong issue meron sa community. To help that the parents, the students, social concepts, okay, basa-basahin na lang ito. Although, hindi ko naman sinasabing hindi important, pero just ano lang. Okay? So, any questions? Nandiyan pa ba kayo?
Yes, sir.
Yes po.
Okay lang ba sa
Yes sir, nandito pa po.
okay lang ba sa pakikinig? Kasi siyempre, kailan natin kasing paspasan, bilisan yung 3 foundations in 1 session. Okay, at least naka-recall kayo yung may mga concepts, ganyan. Basa-basahin lang din. Any questions po? Kung wala, I'll be giving you links, Google Form links. 5 yun, na tagpi 50. Just find time to answer. Mas okay kung sasagutan nyo na ngayon para at least fresh pa yung mga narinig or na-recall. Kasi hindi nyo naman kailangan pilitin ang sarili nyo na sagutin yung pinakatama. At least ma-assess nyo ang sarili nyo kung marami kayong mali. It's just fine. Diba? At least alam mo ang magiging ang ifo-focus. Okay? So, I'll be posting in the group links to Google Form regarding, sineseparate ko kasi yung philosophical, historical, and ano yung isa? Sociological and anthropological foundations. Okay? Any more questions? Okay, kung wala ng question, i-end ko na, then I will post the link in the group.
Thank you, sir. Bye, classmates.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.